I wanted a place for people to gather who have like-minded core values, who see the world the same, who are all trying to progress together, because I understand how powerful it can be to have a tribe of people with similar goals around you.
Hello there and welcome back to the My Future Business Show. It's Rick Nusky. Great to be back with you. I hope you're doing well, and if you're here for the very first time, I know you're in for a treat because the My Future Business Show gets you in front of your best audience and keeps you there. And if you're an entrepreneur, somebody who's looking to grow their business, this is the place for you. Now, on today's show, I have the pleasure of welcoming entrepreneur, marketing strategist, and personal branding expert, Mr. Alex Urban. Welcome to the show, Alex.
Thank you, my friend. Really appreciate you having me on today.
It's an absolute pleasure to have you here, Alex. Now, you and I are going to be talking about ways to go about growing an online business, the importance of personal branding, and proven techniques that you can use to scale your e-commerce or coaching business, as well as a whole host more things I have to ask of you. Now, where are you calling in from today, Alex?
I'm actually calling in right now from Maui, Hawaii.
Oh, so very nice.
Traveled quite a bit. We're in the tropics right now.
Excellent. So is it like a home away from home, or where do you normally live?
I normally live in Salt Lake City, Utah. However, it's snowing there right now, so I prefer to be in warmer climates.
So you are a warm person, warm weather person. You prefer that?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Now you mentioned that you're in Hawaii, right?
Yes.
Now tell me, what's going on with all the environment over there at the moment? I understood that there was a pretty massive fire recently. What's happening there?
Yes. So I'm actually on the island Maui right now, where there was the fire about 3 months ago.
Right.
Currently, they're repairing a lot of the buildings and everything. I can say there's a very, very good uplift in attitude here with the community. Everybody seems to be kind of getting back to their normal routine. They seem to be a little bit happier, a little bit more connected. So overall, good positive energy here. Everybody's helping each other build back and rebuild whatever way they can. I have noticed that some of the prices everywhere you go are a little bit increased, but it's because a lot of these businesses are actually donating a lot to giving back to rebuilding. So really cool to just see how the communities all come together here, but everybody's in high spirits and helping each other as much as they can.
Well, that's a real key thing that you mentioned, is about coming together and helping each other. I remember seeing a video of an individual riding their push bike through the streets, and it was just absolutely devastating. It's probably the only word that I can find for it. You know, you hear about these things on the news, but if somebody grabs a GoPro and starts riding around on a push bike, it's really confronting. How did that make you feel when you saw it?
It was absolutely devastating to me, to be honest with you, because the last time that I was here, again, I traveled quite a bit, but the last time I was here, I actually was flying out the day that the fire started getting really bad. That wasn't something that was planned. It was just my day to go home. And as I was taking off, the fire looked pretty manageable. It didn't look too out of control. But by the time I got back to Utah, it's about a 7 to 9 hour travel time back home. I was literally having people blow up my phone, and the location I was staying at was actually evacuated at the time. So it was very eye-opening and very, just hit very close to home that the place that I just spent the last 30 days in was now up in flames. So it was very heart-wrenching. It was very devastating. I know a lot of people here who have friends, family members who lost their lives, lost their places. So definitely hit very close to home compared to something you see on the news. And, sometimes it's on the other side of the world and it's hard to relate to. But, being so close to it, it definitely hits a different spot and puts a lot of things into perspective for you.
Absolutely. It grounds you, doesn't it? So our best wishes go out to everybody exposed to those terrible events. We wish you all the best. Now, coming back to Utah, snow. I know that you love snowmobiles. Tell me a little bit about your hobbies. What do you like to do?
Yeah, in Utah, there's not much I really like to do, to be honest with you. Like specifically, I kind of like just having new experiences all the time. Kind of just dabble into a lot of things, but if there's anything consistent, I love being out on the water. I love being out on the lakes. Wakeboarding, wake surfing is always a pleasure. But I've also found a interest in racing. So I went and bought a little stripped out race car, and I've been out at the tracks, and I'll usually spend 1 or 2 weekends a month out there at the track getting my racing license, and that's been really, really fun as well.
See, I love this because a lot of people, they don't really have a true bucket list. They generally get into the one thing that they really enjoy and they stick with it. But you have decided that my bucket list is quite big and I want to do a bit of everything. What else have you got lined up, do you think?
Exactly. There's a lot of things. A lot of it has to do with travel and places that I want to go, and just experiences. When you travel to new countries, there's a lot of new culture that you get to experience, a lot of people that you get to meet. There's places on my bucket list I'd love to go to that not a lot of people have ever gone to or even think about going to. Like, I'd love to go to Antarctica. That's top on the list. I've only known one person who's actually been there, so it'd be cool to say that you've been able to go there. And just really unique and fun places like that, I think would be really cool. As well as my passion for racing in cars. I definitely want to go spend some more time over in Europe and actually race some of the world's famous tracks over there. I think that'd be a great experience as well.
The Nürburgring and places like that?
Absolutely. Nürburgring, Spa is definitely number one on the list, but Nürburgring is obviously up there at the top as well.
Now, tell me a little bit. I know that you have a love of cars. Is there a favorite?
There's a lot of favorites. Yeah, cars were originally what got me into learning business, to be honest with you, because it's like when I started looking at cars at a young age back then, when they only cost, 200,000 for a very, very nice car. It kind of just put things in perspective that if you're working for a certain hourly rate, how long you'd have to work to actually save up and purchase one of these cars.
Yeah.
So I saw it, just kind of as a kid, poster car on your wall is a Lamborghini Countach I saw for the first time, and I was like, it just absolutely blew my mind how cool it was. Exactly. I love that car. Then ever since then, Lamborghini's always been my favorite. I'm actually going to be getting my first one here in about 3 months. Super excited about that.
Very good.
And then honestly, like I love Lamborghinis. I love McLarens. I love Koenigseggs, Bugattis. I really like the high end stuff for sure.
Of course you do. Got some rich taste, that's for sure and certain. Now, I actually stumbled across your photography page. I saw some wonderful photos there. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so photography has always been a outlet for me to really express kind of a lot of different freedom and really expand my mind along like doing all the other regular things I do on a daily basis. So as you know, and I'm sure if you like sit behind the computer long enough, staring at the screen, doing all like the data, all the analytics, doing all these things, it can honestly like put a lot of stress on your mind. So I found that through photography, it caused me to go out, to meet new people, to go do things and go experience things and then capture on camera. And that really helped me kind of get out of my head and really express some creative freedom with a creative outlet. So I plugged that into using a lot of the imagery for like my personal brand. I used it as a networking tool, and that continued to bring in a lot of different business connections, which helped me through my journey tremendously. So that's the reason I kind of got into photography.
So photography obviously then spills over to your Instagram account, and I've obviously done my research and checked out all of the great content that you've got going on, not only on the photography page but on your Instagram page. And I noticed a lot of gym workouts going on. Tell us a little bit about the importance of keeping fit and healthy.
Oh yeah, so that has been something that has been at the top of my priority list throughout the last year, especially. I went through a lot of kind of mental health issues, just being in a very, very dark spot mentally with anxiety, depression, stress, all these things that come with building a business naturally. And one of the things that I found is that as long as I kept my body right and I kept my body moving and kept the endorphins coming in, the better that I looked, the better that I felt. And mentally, to me, it was a great place to go to escape. And so I found that like the best thing that you could possibly do for your mental health and to make sure that you stay sharp, you stay on point, you have the energy that you need to perform is by taking care of your body. So the gym to me has been something that's a complete non-negotiable. 7 days a week, I have to get a movement in, I have to get a lift in, I have to do something, just because it keeps me like riding that high and keeps me in that flow state where I need to be able to perform at my best every day with what it is that I do. So I like to share that with people. A lot of people think it's like going there to look good, and it is true. I'm a huge believer that, the better you look, the better you're going to feel.
Yep.
But at the same time, like internally, you don't see what it's truly doing to you and transforming you internally by, making yourself proud of yourself by pushing through something hard like a physical activity like that.
See, men's mental health is one of those areas of life that I think attitudes are changing towards for men. The attitudes changing. There used to be a time earlier on in my life that I remember that you wouldn't share with a mate about the things you're going through. What do you think of that? Do you think that's important?
I think it's incredibly important to be open with everybody and be vulnerable. Part of the way that I've actually built my personal brand is being very open and honest about what it is that I'm going through mentally. And I've shared some things that are like so dark from like the deepest parts of my soul that I probably wouldn't have told anybody years and years ago. But now it's like when I share these things publicly, it creates such a good connection with everybody online because everybody has the same thoughts running through their head. Everybody is anxious to some degree. Everybody is sad to some degree. Everybody is stressed to some degree. Everybody, no matter how messed up it sounds, everybody at one point in their life has probably thought about suicide. So when you share these things, you're not only connecting with people, but you're making others realize that they're not alone. We're all in this game together. No one has a perfect life, no matter how glamorous it may look online or how their life may seem from an outside perspective. everybody still shares the same internal feelings. So the more that I got vulnerable online, the more that I started sharing my truth, not only did it help me realize that I'm not alone, but it also helped me help other people. And that created a sense of fulfillment that I could not get from anything else. So I do believe that, men, we try to be strong, we try to be very hard-headed, and we try to obviously like stay on top of our game 24/7, but there is a part in us that does need to be supported by a community and a tribe of people, and the only way that you can do that is by opening up and sharing. So I do believe that it is something that is becoming more common. But I also believe that it's something that is one of the best tools that you can use to start connecting with others, is just sharing your raw, vulnerable truth with everybody else. And that's really what's going to create a genuine connection with people online, especially if we're talking about building a personal brand.
Yeah, no, look, I love this because you're talking about a raw transformation from, those darker times to where you are now, because you're looking great. You obviously, your mindset's in a great place. You're in a location that you love. You're living life and you're living large. So congratulations for all the progress that has been made. Now, tell us a little bit about the importance of diet and your cheat meal. I watched a video on your protein ice cream and I was like, oh, I'm so hungry now. Do you still like them?
I love the protein ice cream. I'm really sad that I don't have the ice cream machine out here in Maui with me, in Utah. But yeah, no, one of the biggest things that I found too is like on my fitness journey, like I got to a point where I realized that so much part of my day was consumed by the thought that I wasn't happy about how I looked. And when you're trying to perform your best, when you're trying to be on camera all day, when you're trying to create content and you feel insecure about who you are, that's a sign that you need to change, right? So when I started going to the gym, it was great, but I'm like, how come I'm going to the gym for 6 months, 12 months and not seeing any difference with how I look and how I feel? That's when I had to start implementing like a different diet, a different macro plan, and really start abiding by that. And what I found is that like, as I continued to track what I was eating, I could see a direct correlation with how I was feeling, and I could see a direct correlation with the body transformation that I was going through. So now that I've been tracking that over the last about 90 days, I've lost about 20 pounds, which has been amazing. Wow. It's like my shirts feel better when I put them on, my pants feel better when I put them on. I feel much more confident taking off my shirt when I'm at the beach here. I feel like the fat in my face has kind of gotten loose, so it's made me more confident on camera. And on top of that, like I also stopped drinking almost 100 days ago, and that's also kind of brought back like an energetic glow that people can sense through camera. So again, like dialing in your health and your fitness and your physical being, to me, it's like that's the number one pillar that you need to excel in any area of life. The better that you can feel every day, and the less of that voice you have to listen to about, oh, does this shirt look good on me, bad on me? It's like, I don't want to wake up and start the day by putting on a shirt and going, oh, this one makes me look fat. I want to start the day by like putting on any shirt in my closet, knowing that I look killer, knowing that I look good and ready to go out and crush the day. So diets become very important to me. Getting in enough protein, that's huge. And that's where that protein ice cream came in. It's crazy because like back in the day, people used to think, oh, you just got to eat some like chicken and some rice and some broccoli. And it's like things have changed now. We have a bunch of cool supplements, a bunch of cool things that you can take. Like for example, protein ice cream, 60 grams of protein in ice cream, 2.5 grams of fat, 15 grams of carbs, all in a pint of ice cream that you can enjoy in the evening. And that'll help you hit your goals and shred weight when you're eating ice cream. So it's an enjoyable way to do it.
Now, tell me a little bit. It seems to me that you've gone from this place of, being a little bit aimless and, into the alcohol and things like that I saw. And I saw it on your Facebook feed. You've obviously gone that 100 days. How important is it for other men, do you think, and people in general for that matter, to find a purpose, a direction in their life? And do you think that can only come about through going through traumatic events?
It does 100%. And I feel like to a degree, where you need to learn to find your purpose is not in things that you get pleasure from. To me, the things that you get pleasure from is where your weaknesses are in life, right? So if I get pleasure from drinking, obsessive drinking, or doing drugs, or eating foods that I know I shouldn't be eating, or even sleeping around with people I shouldn't be sleeping around with, it's like those to you are technically weaknesses that are stopping you from becoming the best version of yourself that you're capable of becoming. Yeah. When you start dropping these vices and start finding pleasure in your purpose, and you can understand that the difficult things that you're doing are the ones that are giving you strength, that's when the game starts changing, right? So for example, it's like I used to I'd go and have like one, two, three, four, 5 drinks every night. I'd go smoke some weed with it.
Yep.
In the mornings, I'd pop some Adderall. Like I'd be on all these things up and down. Oh, I'm not feeling good. Oh, let me take some kratom, or let me go smoke some nicotine, or let me do this to even out. And a lot of people have issues with that, right? And it's like, I didn't really feel bad, but then now it's like, now that I'm in such alignment with my purpose, as far as working out, diet, reading, sleeping good, waking up early, helping others. It's like now the things that I feel bad about are like, oh, I ate 20 grams of extra carbs I shouldn't have ate because I had a few extra tortilla chips at the Mexican restaurant. You know what I mean? So it's like, I feel just as guilty about that now as I did putting 4, 5, 6 substances in my body every single day just to feel like I had a straight mindset. So to me, it's like your pleasures are your weaknesses, and you need to start using regret as your guideline. So when you regret eating that cheeseburger, right, that's a sign from the universe and from your conscious that maybe you shouldn't be doing that. Maybe you should start making better choices. When you start drinking too much and you wake up with a hangover and you regret it, that's a sign from the universe saying, hey, this is no longer acceptable. This is no longer serving you. Yeah. All those things that are no longer serving you that you're regretting, you need to move away from to become closer to living your true purpose. And once you're on that path and once you're truly in alignment, now you can actually start living a life that's worth living to its fullest degree. And then things just start happening for you that it almost feels like your life becomes a cheat code. At the same time, it's like I have deals rolling in so quickly now. I have like money rolling in. I have better relationships with people than I've ever had. You know, all these connections building. It's like the only reason I've got that is because now I'm setting the example for others. Now I'm connecting with others on a deeper level. Now I'm showing people what is possible inside of them by doing it inside of me and becoming that example. And because of that, all areas of my life have begun to flourish like none other. And it's an amazing transformation. So you need to learn, again, to find like pleasure in your purpose and not indulging in pleasures because they can truly be a weakness for you.
So this is great feedback. Now, this is obviously talking a lot about discipline, but on the flip side of that, when we're living our life, do you think it's important to step away and just give yourself a break? And how hard should you be on yourself when you're thinking about discipline?
That's a very hard question to answer, because when you ask someone like me, I don't like taking breaks, to be honest with you. Like, to me, taking a break is something that you need when it's like been very, very, very much earned. Yeah. But I even have a hard time turning off. Like the other day, it's like yesterday, I literally went out to the beach and I was like, oh, I'm going to go lay out in the sun and tan for a bit between some phone calls. And between my coaching calls and the phone calls that I was at, I was on my phone, like in my group, helping post and provide values to others, helping them answer their questions. Like, it's very hard for me to turn off. Yeah. Because again, like I find so much pleasure now in helping people that turning off is almost like a negative trigger to me. You know, I don't think there's anything such as balance. Tim Grover, he has a book called Winning. Tim Grover was the coach to Michael Jordan. It's one of the best books I ever read. But he has a quote in there that says, with winning, there's no such thing as balance. And I truly don't believe that there is. Some of the most high performers in the world, it's like they have a very, very, very hard time turning off. And I think once you get to a certain level of discipline, you feel worse when you turn off than you do when you just keep going. So for me, it's like I don't want to skip a day at the gym because I have a long day, because I know how bad I feel the next day. I don't want to skip and have this greasy ass cheeseburger meal and fries and all that other stuff because I know how it makes me feel. I want to make sure that no matter what, I'm performing my optimal state, because once you're performing your optimal state, you just don't want to go back. But it takes time to get there. It takes pain to get there. It takes discipline to get there. But once you're there, you just want to stay there forever. It's a high that you essentially want to ride the rest of your life.
Yeah, that's great feedback. Thank you so very much, Alex. Loving this call. Now, I just want to roll back time a little bit, because I think about the work that you do now, and I also think about the people that must have been in your life throughout, you know, mentors, people that you love. Who when you were growing up was around you that you looked to for advice and that really inspired you to become the person you've become today, do you think?
You know, that's a great question. I didn't really have a figure per se. I always felt like I was very in tune or in touch with like God, the universe, whatever higher being that you believe in. I've always been very, very in touch with my intuition. So like growing up, like I was not the popular kid in school. I got bullied very often. My parents were always ragging at me about my horrible grades, and they like wanted me to go to college and get a real job and all these things. And I just felt like there was a calling in me that was so strong to just follow this gut instinct or this intuition or this message that, you know, God was giving me. And when I like truly followed that, I feel like that's what truly brought me on a path of such alignment, where a lot of people kind of go astray and make some decisions that puts them off their path. So to me, I've always just kind of looked internally for that guidance, and I've always been able to find it there.
I find it interesting you talk about education, because nowadays you see a lot of young entrepreneurs coming through and they've bucked the system, as it were, and they're not looking towards the traditional forms of education because there are many more options out there. What would you say to that?
Oh yeah, I personally think that it's like any kind of advanced education, even like your standard education to a degree, is a waste of time anymore. I do believe that there's certain professions where you do need very specific education. You know, doctors, lawyers, physicists, astronauts, all those like very high end jobs. But it's like at the same time, every single job also needs specialty training. I got my training and my expertise in marketing and growing a personal brand through experience and mentors. I didn't need to go take all these college credits and all these university credits to obtain that knowledge. I went straight to the source and tapped into the source and found my knowledge there. So I feel like, to be honest with you, we're in a day and age where I always joke around and say my math teacher in elementary school, it's like, oh, you need to learn how to do math because you'll never have a calculator in your pocket everywhere you go. And I'm like, well, joke's on you because I have a supercomputer now in my pocket everywhere that I go. So I feel like because of how the world has changed, that we need to really start paying attention to where we get our education from, because we can go directly to the source and speed up our learning tenfold and get to where we want to be way quicker without kind of the outside things that really have no application to us. I've never used the Pythagorean theorem in my entire life since I left, high school. I've never done a chemistry equation other than like I had a candle night where me and a date were making some candles one night and I just had to add things and measure them out. But other than that, like a lot of the stuff that we've learned, I feel like is fairly useless, especially with the resources we have available now.
Yeah, there's a time and place for everything and for certain people, and that's for sure and certain. So again, thank you again for the feedback. Now, when we look at the entrepreneur's journey, we often see people that are sitting on the fence. They're more about learning, continual learning, rather than implementation. How important is it to pull the trigger and actually get stuff done?
Oh, it is critical. I mean, if you want to succeed in any kind of capacity, you have to implement, you have to execute. To me, one of the worst things that you can do is create a habitual habit where you're consistently learning and never executing. So every time that you pick up a book, every time you watch a program, every time you look something online, if you do not apply that, you're creating a habit internally that is actually like destroying you. It's a very, very, very bad problem I think a lot of people have. And it's like you're continually searching for the next answer and the next answer and the next answer. It's like the only answer you should be looking for is, why are you so scared to execute? And why are you so scared to go out there and actually take action to do something? So to me, I try and like avoid excessive reading or excessive podcasts or excessive research on topics, because I'd never want to construct that habit in me that's consistently learning without execution. So if I go read a book or get in somebody's program, I'm going to plug that in before I even start looking for the next answer. This is a problem that I had to find in myself internally that was holding me back for the longest time, that I didn't realize was a problem until I started really looking at all these patterns, all these people going to conferences and signing up for all these coaching groups and all these people looking for all this information online. It's like, you'll never find that magic pill that you're looking for. A lot of people are looking for the answers that'll give them what I like to call 10-year results when they're only on year one and they only really deserve year one results. So you need to be like taking the journey like everybody else has. It's a requirement. You have to take your first step and then your next step and then your next step and then your next step, and eventually you'll get there. And if you want to run instead of walk, you can do that and get there quicker. But unfortunately it's a requirement when you're building a business and you're building anything in life that you have to start from taking that first step. So it's incredibly important. If not, you're never going to go anywhere with it.
It's funny, it struck me to ask you, given how much you've done so far, I can remember the first entrepreneurial experience I ever had was washing cars. What was yours?
My first entrepreneurial, sorry, do you mind re-asking that question?
Your first entrepreneurial experience, like mine was washing cars.
Oh, so mine was, that's a great question. It started off mowing lawns and washing windows if I go really early on, but then where it got to a point where I was old enough to really take it seriously, it was when I stepped out of the corporate world and I started my own marketing agency, my social media marketing agency for local businesses. So it definitely was there early on when I was like, hey, I could go mow 3 lawns. I remember it was my neighbor's lawn. I was like, oh, if I go mow 3 my neighbor's lawn, I could get the new iPhone. And I saved all summer, just all summer to get that phone. And I remember I was so happy about it. And it was an incredible experience. So it definitely started early on due to materialistic things, which I personally believe are a great driver to a lot of people. So don't like shy away from it. But yeah, it started pretty early on with mowing lawns, washing windows, and then got into my marketing agency after I graduated high school.
That's a good segue. Talk about your marketing agency and what what you learned from it, because you obviously jumped straight into the fire with that one.
Yeah, so I originally was actually doing mortgages right out of high school, and I worked my way up the ladder very, very quickly there. And then I got very depressed because I was like, I'm sitting in a cubicle office every day. I want to go on a journey. I want to be able to not work in an office. And that originally led me into doing social media marketing, mostly because I could choose my own hours. I could work wherever I wanted to. I could help local businesses. So it didn't matter if I was in Salt Lake or if I was in San Diego, I could have clients to help. Once I started doing that, I was able to really start building relationships with local companies and helping them out with their social media marketing. At the time, all the ad platforms are still fairly new, especially Facebook and Instagram. So these companies really didn't have a lot of budgets set aside to be pumping into social media marketing. So it was more of consulting them on their social media strategies. And it got to a point where I was just honestly a little bit disappointed in the results that I could get from them because they weren't trusting the process that I had learned from other mentors. And so I was like, okay, if you guys aren't going to trust me with this, I need to find an avenue where I can do this myself. And that's quickly where I found out about Shopify and drop shipping. And I actually created my first business, which was a jewelry business on Shopify. And that's where I started plugging in all the skills and all the knowledge that I'd learned where these companies didn't have budget. I started putting up my own money into ads and I started getting results that way. And I kind of transformed from a marketing agency into running my own online business. And that's how that transformation happened.
Yeah, great feedback. Thank you very much. Loving this call, Alex. You've got so much to share with our audience who are, I bet you, absolutely loving it as much as I am. Now, I want to shift into your brand experience and the importance of brand. And the reason I want to do that is because I noticed that on your LinkedIn profile that you're on stage speaking. To me, that's brand building. How does that make you feel speaking on stage?
I absolutely love it. I'm not going to lie. The first time I ever spoke on stage was in front of 500 people. And it was the most frightening experience in the entire world. What was crazy is that the worst part of it was the 5 minutes leading up to going on stage. And the second you got up there and kind of puked out your first words and then started getting into the flow, you know what I mean? It felt very natural. So I'd had years of experience like creating videos online and talking to the camera, which is really interesting because when my video gets like 5,000 views, you know, I mean, that's a lot of people, but then you stand in front of 500 live people and you're like, whoa, this is very, very different. But regardless, like building your brand across the board, speaking to people, helping people in whatever capacity that is, whether it's, you know, on social media, in person, you just need to get yourself out there and start sharing value with the world. The more that you share value relentlessly with people without an expectation of giving back, I personally believe that's one of the biggest things that you can do to build a personal brand, or really any brand for that matter. So one of the biggest key takeaways I tell everybody is give without any expectation of return, and you're going to be rewarded abundantly.
See, there's personal brand and there's professional brand. I often think about style guides, colors, trust colors, and logos, and all this other stuff that goes with it. Where does somebody start if they're new to all of this, do you think, Alex?
That's a great question, and it depends if we're talking about a personal brand or an actual brand. But to me, I like to tell people that we're in a day and age where your personal brand actually coexists with your business brand. You know, back in the day, you could have this like high and mighty CEO who would hide behind the scenes and hide behind the curtains of his brand, right? We don't really know who the owner of Coca-Cola is. We don't really know who the owner of AT&T is or some of these larger companies, right? But now we kind of moved into a day and age where it's like the CEO really is the face of a brand because people want to connect with something. And they unfortunately can't really connect with something that's not really tangible, that's not real life, right? Like Facebook, it's not really real life, but because you know who Mark Zuckerberg is, it's much easier to connect to them and their company and their ecosystem. So where I say is if you want to start a brand, no matter what it is, you're working for a business, no matter what it is, it all starts with you. You are your brand and you will always be your brand. So you need to treat it like a brand. You need to figure out who your identity is. You need to figure out how you talk to people. You need to figure out how you position yourself online. And unfortunately, it's going to take a lot of reps. It's going to take a lot of time and a lot of practice to really figure out who you are, how you portray your message to the world, what you're known for, and how you connect to people authentically online. And then once you start a business, it's much easier to go into the nitty gritty things I say of like getting a branding Bible, getting a logo for your business, getting your color palettes, getting your, you know, all your branding assets done.
Yep.
But when you're launching a business online nowadays, it's like you really are your first marketing tool. When I start my own e-commerce businesses, I promote it on my personal brand, on my social media, and that originally gets me sales and kind of gets things off the floor. If I were to hide and not post about what my business is and just try and run some ads online, it can be very hard to start getting traction right off the bat. So you are essentially like rocket fuel that you can pour onto any of your business as a personal brand. So you need to treat it extremely important by just start sharing online. That's the biggest thing that I can really tell anybody, is that you just need to start sharing consistently. And the more that you share, the better you're going to get at it. One of the ways that I actually started sharing online more is I decided to start what's called a POV challenge. So originally on my Instagram, I thought that I had to have all these like crazy pictures, like you'd see, oh, Alex is over in Italy, and now he's in Amsterdam, and now he's in Tel Aviv, and now he's in all these places, but they're months and months and months apart. I'm not going to connect with somebody like that. So I decided that, you know what, my POV challenge, I'm going to take a picture every single day of my point of view of the day. So it didn't matter if I was in my car, at the gym, at work. I literally had some pictures where I posted, it was just my living room. The point of the challenge was to take a picture and not really care about what the picture was, but post in the caption and the content. In the caption down there, some valuable content of a lesson that I learned through the day or thought that was going through my head. And I actually ended up doing the POV challenge for 600 days in a row. And through that 600 days, I literally doubled my following online, and I got to connect with people because I learned how to speak online. I learned how to form myself into who I am today online. I learned all these valuable lessons because of the consistency. The very first post started off extremely rough, but when you started getting closer to day 600, the posts were very refined. They were very personal. They had a very unique style of messaging, and I really found my path that way. So the more you can be consistent with it, the better. And if you have no idea where to start, don't worry about logos, colors, all this. Just start by continuously posting value online. And again, post it from a place of heart, not from a place of like, oh, I want to make money through doing this.
Yes, that's a trick, isn't it?
Yeah, you have to become friends with somebody before they'll become your customers. So you need to treat them like that online.
Yep. Again, fantastic feedback. Now, tell me a little bit. I know that there are a lot of people who love watching people on video taking photos of themselves, but then there are another subset of people who absolutely fear, more than public speaking itself, I might suspect, that getting on a video is not their way. Do you think there's a place for other formats, maybe text and audio, to share content?
Yeah, absolutely. I do believe that video is going to always continue to lead the way. Through text and imagery, you can only get so much emotion and so much of a message across. So if you're someone who doesn't like being on camera, my biggest advice would say to suck it up and learn how to get comfortable on camera. But if not, there's my perfect example is the POV challenge. I posted 600 pictures in a row and not a single video. I was doing videos on my stories and whatnot, but that's just kind of a subset to the content. But luckily there's enough social media platforms out there where if you want to be a very text-based content creator, you have places like LinkedIn and you have places like Twitter or X or whatever we're calling that nowadays. If you want to be more of a video creator, we have TikTok, we have YouTube, we have Instagram Reels. So there's a multitude of places where you can be posting your content depending on what you're comfortable doing. But I can tell you that there's no connection that you will get online like the one that you will get through video content. People like to see you, they like to see your emotion, they like to hear the emotion in your voice, and people can spot very easily how genuine and real you are through video. And that's where I think it creates such a good connection with people online. When you're just writing through text and through copy, people can understand your message and value it, but they're not necessarily going to connect with it because it's missing that personal feel. So either way you do it, I don't think there's a wrong way to do it, but eventually at some point down the line, you are unfortunately going to have to suck it up and get comfortable on video. And again, you can only do that by consistently putting in the reps and putting in the work, and eventually get to a point where it doesn't even bother you if there's a camera in front of your face 24/7.
Sage insights. This is all coming back together. It's tying up, back to discipline and that persistence and consistency, choosing the format, all these wonderful things that we've spoken about. Now, tell me a little bit of it. You've worked with a lot of different people. How does it make you feel seeing them get results? I've seen some imagery of befores and after. It must make you feel good.
Oh, I love it, man. There's nothing more fulfilling than waking up to messages from people saying like, hey, you've changed my life. By you setting the example, it has literally helped change someone's life for the better. And I truly believe it's like we're all on this earth to like help other people. And when you do that, again, from like a point of like, hey, I'm going to set the example. And if you want to come along and if you want help, I'm right here for you. And by shining your light like that and helping other people, to me, it's the most fulfilling thing in the world. There's nothing I love more than getting a message from my client like, hey, you helped me get sober, or hey, you helped me realize that I'm not happy at my job and I left it and now I'm on a career path that I love, or hey, this tip that you gave me helped me make an extra $6,000 over the weekend on my online store. Like all these things, it's so fulfilling because it gets to a point where I personally believe that you can only get so many results yourself before you stop enjoying them and you want to share the experience with others. And that's where like infinite pleasure can come from, right? To me, it's like I've driven around in some insane cars. I've flown on Gulf Streams across the world. I've visited some crazy countries. I've like done all these things. I've eaten at places where your dinner costs $1,000. I've done all these things that like at the very beginning, I'm like, this would be amazing to do. It's like I wear a really nice Rolex around. I have all the things that people want. And it's like you get to a point where it's boring. I had a point in my life where I was like very addicted to buying shoes, like the Jordan shoes. And I ended up buying over 70 pairs of them. And every time that a new one came, every time a new one got delivered, I was trying to like get that dopamine rush, but I couldn't feel it anymore. And then I started getting to a point where I started gifting Jordans, where all the people around me, I'm like, hey, here's a pair for you, here's a pair for you, here's a pair for you, running contests to my coaching students to see who could get the best results. And I gave it to them. And to see them light up and to see that energy come out and to see them smile and like truly be full of place of gratitude and see that they're proud of themselves for working hard to get a result, that to me provided more pleasure than all 70 of those pairs combined. So to me, it's like the more you can help people and the more you can share with people, the better. I personally, it's like I can go anywhere, I can do what I want to do, but when I bring someone along with me, it's way more enjoyment than I can get by having any experience myself. So sharing your gift with others is the most fulfilling thing in the world by far.
It seems to me that you've found your calling. And as soon as you started talking about giving, your face lit up more than anything you've spoken about. So I'm absolutely loving what you're sharing with our audience today. They're really going to appreciate it. Now, it seems to be a natural progression given how much you love to give and love to help, love supporting and, walking side by side with the people that you work with, that you would start a community. Tell us a little bit about the Arena.
Yeah, so I started the Arena originally started as my business coaching group. And then it got to a point where I'm like, I've talked and helped so many other people with business areas that I want to expand it into almost what it's called, the Arena community. So inside the Arena, I have multiple programs. I have the community, I have my business coaching, and I have one-on-one coaching. But the reason I wanted to create the community was that I wanted a place for people to gather who have like-minded core values, who see the world the same, who are all trying to progress together, because I understand how powerful it can be to have a tribe of people with similar goals around you. Everything that I've ever gotten and everything that I've attained all up till today have all come from certain communities, whether it was getting started in the internet marketing space. I joined Facebook groups and I built connections with people who eventually led me to working with mentors. I joined other coaching groups and found some of my closest friends and closest people in my life inside of there. And so I wanted to create this community because I wanted a place for people to really gather together to help and provide value to each other, because that's where we all come together and we all win together. Winning is way more fun when you do it together than when you do it by yourself. So I started the Arena community. Originally, I was going to do it for free. And then I was like, you know what? I understand that people do not value what they don't pay for and what they get for free. So I wanted to make it a price that everybody could do. So I made it $10 a month to join the community. We're now up to 133 people in there, I think, as of now. And all these people are in there helping each other. They're posting their wins. They're providing business referrals to each other. They're connecting with each other. And it's so cool to have a place where you start to see people winning together, people connecting together, and people helping each other level up, helping each other stay accountable. It's truly a special place where people can go and find those people. It's very hard to go out in the real world and try and find people who are also let's say entrepreneurs or people who love books or people who love doing that. But a lot of us are on the same journey, but we're just unfortunately not in the same location. So I created the online community because it really broadens that to where I have people over in Europe, I have someone down in Australia, I have a lot of people in the US, and they're all coming together to help each other win. And that's the reason why I started the community.
I'm feeling energized about everything we've spoken about today, and obviously having a place to go. Now, there's going to be some people on the call here going to say, well, the obvious next question, Alex, is where is the community? How do I get involved? What's the onboarding? and things like that. Could you share that with us?
Yeah, for sure. So the easiest place to go is my Instagram, because I have a link tree in there with all the links depending on what level you're looking to get involved for. So my Instagram is at Alex Urbie, AlexUrbie. And there's a link tree in the bio there that has the links to everything that we've just talked about. So you can do there. When you join it, it's very simple. You download an app. And inside that app, there's a community every single week, depending on what level program you go in, you get 1 to 2 weekly calls. So like this week, I actually have a call here in about 2 hours. We're doing our weekly call within the community. I'm bringing in one of my favorite energy workers who I work very personally with. We're going to be talking about like the mind-body connection and how your body can talk to you about some problems that you have in life that maybe you don't want to face. So cool things like that. I bring in a lot of cool guests. Each week we talk about topics. Last week we talked about sharing your truth. And that was a very, very powerful message. So yeah, a lot of value in there, but you can find all the links in my link tree inside my Instagram.
You know, we've talked about so much, but I'm pretty sure that there would be so much more that we could talk about. And, you know, with that being said, we're nearing an hour already. It's just breezed by. And I really do appreciate you spending some time with me on the show. Now, for anybody who's listening, I'm going to be making sure that the links back to Alex and all of the wonderful work he is doing with his arena community are available to you. No matter where you see it, you're going to find that link. So, Alex, with all that being said, great call. Thank you very much for joining me on the show today.
Thank you so much for your time, Rick. I really appreciate it.